Here's a story of how I lost $14,000 on a fix and flip property in Norfolk, Virginia with a partner that I poorly chose through Facebook. So in this video, I will be giving you the context of why I chose this partner and why I wanted to do this. Second thing, I'll be letting you guys tour the before and after of 2317 St. Denis Avenue. Third thing, the financial breakdown of the cost, how long it took, and how much I end up actually losing. And then the fourth thing, learning lessons for this property. And I have about 12 of those. So make sure you stick around and listen to those because it can save you from future partnerships. And lastly, I might use a bit direct and strong language, so excuse me if I do so. So let's get into the context on why I did what I did. So most of you guys know I do fix and flips in the Richmond, Virginia area, and I want to expand my operations to the Hampton Roads area. And what better way to do that by adding people to your team to be able to do more. And so that's my thought process at the time. And given the fact that this person communicated with me and reached out to me and did a lot of cool gestures as my boots on the ground on my last fix and flips, telling me what they see, what was wrong, etc., I figured it would be a good opportunity to partner up on a small project. So I ended up doing that, and we ended up finding this property, 2317 St. Denis, from another wholesaler in my community. Small little property, 750 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, small kitchen. Should be easy. It should have been 3 months max, in and out, no problem. And I'll show you guys right now what the before and afters and the actual tour of the property. And I'll give you guys my red flags as soon as we come back from the tour.
All right, so we're on the outside of the property at 2317 St. Denis. As you can see, the bottom left-hand corner, bottom right-hand corner, wherever the previous video or walkthrough is, the befores, they don't look too much difference. We did change this box right here, the electrical box, and then you can see the waviness of the siding is still there. That wasn't really addressed. And the soffit up there, some of it was replaced, some of it's not. We have the same siding, just power washed. And then what we did in the front was basically, you can't really see it right now, but we added a new roof on there. But more or less the whole property is more or less the same. Nothing too crazy. This is the side of the house here. And the backyard is a little bit messy because contractors don't pick up after themselves. It's very difficult for them to do so for some reason. And here we have a new light, new door. The HVAC is pretty rough. Like I said, this is not my renovation, it's just I'm the partner of it. And so let's go inside. So at the front door here, you can't really tell, but there's a huge like bump here, right there. And the floor is not flat. We added new paint to it. I'm like really kind of ashamed of how this basically turned out, because it's definitely not my quality of work that I normally do. And you know, again, you'll see the before and afters here. This used to be basically like a room here, and it was kind of walled off. This is a walkway, and this is the bedroom number 1. And here was, you know, a little bit rough. There's like a hole that we patched up over here in the ceiling, and added new flooring. But overall, this place needs to be cleaned. You know, paint, new ceiling fan fixture. It's a door that goes into the hallway. There's only 1 bathroom. Bathroom here looks pretty good, but there's a lot of shoddy work that was done here. It's only 1 little light, a mirror right here, a vanity that you probably get from Lowe's or whatever, toilet. And then bedroom number 2, right? Kind of the same situation, just painted. The floors right here it's just really bad, just craftsmanship. That I'm just gonna point out here, just because, well, just want to show you guys what it could look like if you have bad partners involved, or just you know, not managing it properly. So here's bedroom number 3. It looks okay, but if you walk on this floor, you'll see there's a lot of bumps and humps, and it's not straight, right? And then we'll go back here towards the back area. We have the utility room right there with the hot water heater. Let me see if I can turn this light on. And there's a lot of little things that you can't see on camera that you can just kind of tell that there's like just texture of the wall is not straight or flush, and you know, just a lot of dirt everywhere, just not presenting itself properly. And this is the kitchen. It's very, very small, very, very tight. But the appliances, I would have gotten a little bit better appliances. And then dishwasher, these are just regular cabinets that you as from Home Depot. We have a backsplash here. That's okay. We have a butcher block, and I just think that could be better. So that's the whole walkthrough. You'll see the before and afters on the screen, and I'm gonna go into the office and tell you guys what happened.
So as you guys clearly saw, that the craftsmanship and the workmanship of that property was not up to my standard. You could probably hear some frustration and anger in my voice as I did the walkthrough and pointing out a whole bunch of defects on the property. So I have 3 red flags that I ignored, but I wanted to work through. The first red flag was that this particular partner did not want to use a home inspector because he had quote unquote the experience. He would say that he would inspect the whole property, go in the crawl space, and how he could do a better job than a home inspector. Furthermore, he also told me that he had bad experience with home inspectors, and that's why he doesn't use them. And it turned out that the home inspectors found more stuff that was wrong than he did. So I recommend you guys definitely use a home inspector for your fix and flip, because this will save you so much time and anguish. I did not do this. I ignored this because I assumed that he was right, which I knew at the end of the day, in my heart of hearts, he was wrong. So that's the first red flag. The second red flag that I had was he lied multiple times in my face, like a straight up lie. During the renovations, which I really couldn't do much about, I just had to accept it, take responsibility if I messed up in any other way, just so I can complete the project and just so we can pay back the lenders that were involved. So the third red flag that I had was very stupid on my part, is that I didn't verify all the work that was completed on the property. The money that I sent him for the renovation, I did not double check. He said he repaired some things and he showed me photos, but he would use that money for something completely else. Now, I'm not at the liberty to say what it was because I'm a man of my word and I do not want to disclose his legal business. So in this part of the video, guys, I'm going to give you the actual numbers, the breakdown of this whole property. So we started this particular project on January 30th, 2024. We bought the property for $128,500. And we got a loan for $152,970. We got a second lien position for $36,000 because that is what we budgeted, and that's what my quote unquote partner told me that he could do based on his experience. And then 10 months later, we end up selling the property at $195. It took us a 10-month period from start to finish to sell a 750 square foot property home, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. There have been so many issues on that. You can imagine in that period of time how much struggle, how much back and forth, how much stoppage of progress was made. And my total expense for that property was $45,962. I'm ballparking, I lost right under $14,000 at $13,962.15. I took that full loss because at the end of the day, I had to sell the property, get it on the market, went through a couple of buyers, went through a couple of home inspections just to get stuff done. And on the screen here, you can see the loss here. And now let's jump into the most important part of this video, the learning lessons and the actionable steps that you can take on your future partnership. Lesson number 1 for me: a partnership in business is like getting married. If you choose the wrong person, it can wreak havoc in your personal and your professional life. It caused a lot of stress on my relationship with my spouse, and it also caused internal stress for me between borrower and lender. So just be aware of that. Number 2, communication. We had initial conversations to communicate on a daily basis until the project was complete, but that was never the case. We maybe did it for a week and then it completely stopped because my partner went MIA due to his situation. Number 3, lying to my face. He lied to me multiple times, and I just took it and I tried to take responsibility for why he was behaving the way he was behaving. And at the end of the day, I never found out until the end of the project where it could have been resolved at the beginning of the project, because he had a story in his head that he was gonna lose face with a lot of folks. And that what happened at the end of the day, he lost a lot of trust and rapport and honestly respect, in my opinion, from me and my lender. So I don't know how you could specify that in the JV agreement that we'll have as a learning lesson and how enforceable that is, but I'll get to the fourth one here. Our fourth one is pretty important to me. Never let both entities have equal ownership on a property if one party is taking more risk than the other. And what I mean by that is, since this project, I actually brought all of the financial funding on this property. So in my case, I should get more ownership, more control of the property since I am taking all of the risk personally. In this case, I would have done a profit splitting paperwork where I control the property and he controls the management side of things as far as construction. So if anything were to happen, let's say he goes MIA, lies to my face and breaks the contractor agreement, then there is no legality of any legal issues that I got to jump through a bunch of hoops through. Fifth thing is paperwork. My paperwork was garbage, was shit. I had a JV agreement, but it didn't specify all these different learning lessons that I end up saying between 1 through 4. I could have done a better job of that. Next, I didn't know about the responsibility matrix, understanding who's in charge of what. That should be a non-negotiable, by the way. And then 6, having clear, defined roles. And that kind of relates back to the responsibility matrix. Did not do that and didn't have clear, defined roles set, basically timelines. He would say that he can complete it in a month, which I knew that for a fact that would not be the case, and it turned out to be the case. 7 is trust but verify. I didn't check shit. I just went on his word as a man. What I should have done is check title companies, other investors, lenders, contractors that might have worked with him in the past and see what their experience was when dealing with this person. But I didn't do that. I didn't really actually know until I thought about it later. 8 is vetting their crews, vetting who they're using. Are they actually professionals, right? I end up finding out that they're just regular folks that are working on a job that they're not qualified to do and they're getting paid hourly. That's how he was able to get his labor so low. I was like, duh, no effing way. And number 10 is a personal thing for me. I have a tendency of people pleasing and I don't like confrontation. So my bitch ass self was going through this process. And at the end of the day, I got to tell myself it's just business. Business is just business. There's no hard feelings. There's nothing personal. Just get through this hard conversation and everything will be better. Number 11, never provide funds until work is complete and you inspect the quality of work, whether it's you or a home inspector that inspects the work. I end up providing the funds to this person. He ended up showing me photos, but I didn't inspect it. I didn't go in person to inspect it. That's why you saw all the waviness of the floor, which is just complete dog crap. And he ended up using that fund for something else. So number 12, the last lesson here is start a small project together and do not jump into another project until that project is finished, completely finished, done. And you understand how you guys work together. I did not do that. I am a stupid human being and I did another project that I will be completing in the next, hopefully 8 weeks. And that's a whole year saga too as well. So I can't wait to tell you guys about that project. So those are the learning lessons. Send this video to another person that's thinking about partnering up with another person. I hope this video will be helpful for them and I wish you guys a very nice day. See you guys on the next one.